Campo, and today what I thought we would do is we would kind of add to what we did in the last video, which was the single string pentatonic scale for E minor. So just to kind of refresh, and that's what I was using part of the solo for over our progression of E minor and G. It's basically the high E string, and without getting technical, how about we say open high E dot dot dot, one fret after the fourth single dot, and then the double dot. And it's really the easiest way to get into soloing is E minor or G, key of E minor or G, solo with the single string, and get familiar with how sound goes up in sound and down in sound, because it can get a little confusing using the other pentatonic scale, the standard pentatonic scale, which I was using backwards just to kind of, or not backwards, but in a descending order to show it's the exact same thing. But if I start on this end, okay, you're gonna have two octave sets. So sometimes people think, well, I'll go down here or over here, and you could be just kind of sounding similar to people that are listening. So the bottom line is, we've got this scale. And it's super easy if you use the single string, connect to the, let's call it standard scale number 1 pentatonic, and then you target what are called the box notes. And the box notes are basically for E minor, G pentatonic scale 1, it's the D note, E note, the G note, and the A note. And you can see it forms this little box. And it's almost hard to make this sound bad unless you hit a wrong note. And if you're in the key of E minor, targeting your E note to end your little phrases, which guitar players call guitar licks, it's gonna make it sound good. And as you get more and more advanced, you're gonna branch out, but I'm assuming you're here because you're a beginner and you're learning, and so it makes things sound finished. And so look at soloing as if you were talking in a conversation. You would finish what you're saying. So when you solo, you're talking in this musical language, and you want to finish what you're saying. So if any of this is confusing, I actually have a free PDF file I made that covers the single string scale, the standard scale number 1 pentatonic, and it also gives you the E minor G pattern, which I suggest what you could do is download that free PDF file, get your phone, get this progression down. It's super easy, but the idea is it gives you a really great platform to solo on so you can learn. And once you've recorded to your phone, put it through some good speakers, and try not to censor yourself what you're going to play. So why don't we take a closer look here and zoom in. Okay, so let's take a closer look at both of these scales and see what's going on here. So again, we're in the key of E minor and G, and we've talked about in our past videos that they're relative keys. So you would use this same scale for I don't want to say any song that starts on E minor or G is definitely the key of E minor or G, but it does play out to be most of the time, not always. So the big difference is if you're in the key of E minor versus G, even though you're going to use the same scale, your target notes are a little different. Basically, E minor, and this is more for people starting out, trying to get things in the win column and sounding good. If you're in the key of E minor and your guitar licks, your little phrases on E, if you're in the key of G, end on G, and you'll notice things sound good. So we've got this. Now this scale 1 pattern. And then I just keep going. So this scale has 2 octaves in it. Maybe you heard that. 2 sets of the same thing. This, I mean, we can keep going too. And it depends on how many frets you have, but I've got this last one here, 22. A lot of people are not going to have those. Some people, some Gibson models, and probably a lot of other stuff nowadays, has an extra double dot, so that's your 24 fret. But the way you want to kind of think about this is they're the same scale. Start learning how to talk with this. It doesn't matter how many frets you got and how far you can go. Again, let's get down to the box. Here's the box. D, E, G, A. These are our, let's just say, get started notes in the pentatonic scale. The single string is easy. Start just going up and down and get familiar with the sound of the pentatonic. I don't know if any of you all know this, but, and I'll do this in the key of G. I think it was originally in D. There's a ton of famous songs that use the pentatonic scale, like right in a row. But we're going to target the box. Okay, and like I said before, I didn't want to get too much into some bending, but let's kind of look at some of these licks. So I think you all get this one. So do that on the G chord strum that goes down, up, down. Then we did this little. So the idea is you need enough pressure when you do a slide. Okay? If you don't have enough pressure, or you go too slow, it's not going to give you the sound you want. So you just have to have enough pressure, and it's not a lot of pressure. But when you don't know, you don't know. So you got to get comfortable, and don't go beating yourself up if you're not getting the right sound. If you keep trying, you will get this. And if you're having trouble, feel free to reach out in the comments and just ask. I have, I have a lot of experience as a teacher, actually. So you get this same thing going back. Apply enough pressure. And I don't know if you're seeing, but my thumb is like on a hinge when you slide. And we're not going to get too much into that in this video. But down the line, we'll get into it. And you can really get this thing going. And you do something like this when you're trying to think of a new direction to go. So let's kind of get into a little bit of bending. So this is your really good target note to end your licks on. It's gonna make things sound finished. If you can try to do this bend, it's not too hard. Again, like a slide, you need enough pressure when you start moving the string. And it's not a lot of pressure, it's not a ton of pressure, but you have to have the right feel for it. And so it just takes experience. Experience means put in some time. So if I'm gonna bend this note, the most common bend is going to be what's called a whole step. And on guitar, each fret is a half step. So if I go up 2 frets from this note, hit it plain, capture that in your mind, go back and bend to that sound, try to get it in one swoop. Be careful about overbending or underbending. But sometimes you could just creep your bend up, maybe creep it down, and end like that. This is a really great ender. So the G to the E note. So hopefully that gave you some ideas. And again, if this is all complicated, check out the free link below. It's gonna make all this easy because it's a PDF file. You can print it out, print the scales out, and just look at them. You don't, I would say this. You want to memorize these. You want them to be second nature. And in the long run, so we're learning guitar up to the double dot, then it repeats. There's 5 different forms of these pentatonic scales that connect the fretboard this way. You have 6 strings, you can do the scales this way. You're gonna see a lot of people do like, just kind of sliding scales where you go up the neck. We're not gonna get into that yet. The bottom line is these 5 pentatonics connect the fretboard into one giant scale. And eventually down the line, where you want to be is you're not playing from scales. You're playing from the sound of a solo that you're hearing in your head, and you just put it out. And I know it may seem like a lofty goal, but if you're starting out, you just keep coming back here, and I promise you, you're going to get there. Okay, let's go back to let's go back and do some jams. Okay, so as we saw in the close-up, there's not a lot going on with this scale. It's pretty simple, and the irony of this is a lot of guitar players want to look for these tons of notes and crazy scales, and the real truth of the matter is if you break down the greatest solos of all time, the majority of them are straight up pentatonic. And we're not going to get too much into this right now, but the pentatonic scale is actually just all the strongest notes of the diatonic major scale, which in simple terms is just called the do-re-mi scale. So, we got this. And we talked about the box. The tricky part about the single string scale is the box is not close together. So the box notes are D, E, G, A. We got G, A over here. And then the D, E. So they're backwards if you look at it that way. We could go D, E. So one other thing to consider is if you keep going up the neck, remember the guitar just stops and starts over at the double dot, so you can keep going. So the box still isn't that easy as it is right there, but we have this, so D to E, G to A, which is kind of cool if you do a little sliding exercise. But and again, what I wanted to do in this video is it's kind of targeted to beginners starting out, learning how to solo, not doing a lot of crazy bending. Why don't we do a little more with the loop and just look. I'm going to just, again, start the same way, but get to the box and maybe do a little more stuff there. And then that should give you enough stuff to practice. And don't forget, we got that free link below. If any of this seems tricky, get it, because there's a lot more in the PDF file than I'm saying. It's just, I don't know, sometimes I kind of forget to put it all in there. So, okay, here we go. And I'm going to start with the single string, real simple, and just maybe you could follow along and get up to the box area and start messing around. Okay, I hope you got something out of all this today, and if it's helping you out, subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day today.